One of the weird videos. If it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. Who cares? I'll just look to the next video if it doesn't work. I found myself recently trying to be that old wrestling premiere in the sense that I try to do some random videos. If you guys have been here for a while, then you know what's up. You know, these things randomly come to mind when I'm reading something. I'm gonna tell you guys about a potential video I want to make. Wrestling White Whales / Holy Grail. I don't know which one I'm gonna title it. A video where I want to talk about the most sought after things from pro wrestling, in my opinion, for myself. Such as Brock Lesnar vs. The Rock in Miami, WCW Mayhem on the PS2, Eddie Guerrero vs. The Undertaker from 2005. Other video ideas such as why 2004 Brock was the best Brock, the other side of PG, WWE. I got a couple of things. With that said, John Cena's always been the strongest bastard in the WWE. Unless we're talking about his recent runs. Going to Hollywood lowered his resiliency stats by a lot, but this ain't the point of this video. We're talking about that John Cena that excited a generation and on the other hand, frustrated the others. It was the 2000s Hulk Hogan. Taking all his damage, but by the end recovers and celebrates like nothing. A lot of the fans seen enough in 2006, but they had to withstand this for almost 6 more years. He comes out looking like a fruit, he's wearing the jorts and causes hell. Basically, the point of this video is to determine the strongest John Cena. I'm not mentioning every single version. But with that said, let's get into it. Chain gang / hustle, loyalty, respect. The John Cena that almost everybody loved. Having captured the WWE Championship, the Doctor of Thugonomics had more momentum than just about anybody in the WWE, barring Batista. He beat JBL in 10 minutes for the title, which is something The Undertaker, Eddie Guerrero, Booker T, Big Show, and Kurt Angle failed to do. Man, I was out here releasing a rap album and his shoulders were never down on the mat for 3 seconds. Ever since he won the title, his SmackDown run had 0 losses, not even in tag team matches. And I'm not talking about Cena taking the pin either. Talking about his partners. He dropped JBL and went to Raw, where even though the odds were stacked against him, he overcame them like nothing. His first loss came when he was almost 2 months into his Raw run, and that's because Y2J was the referee. Other than that, Cena did lose clean after Angle rolled them up on the October 10th, 2005 episode. The champ did not look weak at all during his run on Monday nights. He was always protected in his matches with Y2J, HBK, and even Kurt Angle. The only other match he lost was the first blood match, and that was not clean because of Daivari interference. Of course, at New Year's Revolution, Edge cashed in and beat him, and technically he's clean, but we can't count it here. Even then, Cena recaptured the title and went on yet another strong run. During this run, yes, he lost clean, and that was on the April 3rd, 2006 episode of Raw, but wait, there's a reason, of course. That being John Cena was in a handicap match. Like, you seriously expect Chain Gang era Cena to take an L without any reason? His next loss was to RVD at ECW One Night Stand, and you know how it went. He lost 3 more times in the summer, but those losses were either by cheating, interference, or he wasn't even pinned. So I guess it's safe to say that this John Cena is one of the very strongest. He beat Kurt Angle despite Daivari being the referee, withstood the Elimination Chamber, beat Jericho 2 nights in a row despite Eric Bischoff's efforts, made Triple H and Edge tap out, and had RVD beat at one point. On paper, this looks like the strongest John Cena, but we are far from finished. The Marine. Around the end of the summer of 2006, John Cena underwent a slight transition from a rapper to a plain superhero. He began donning military colors and started in the Marine, and because of this, I thought he was in the Army as a kid. He'd do the pose, show respect to the military, and in-ring was at his very best. Cena's run here was huge. His stock was at an all-time high. He recaptured the WWE Championship, went unbeaten until he got distracted and lost to King Booker. I mean, it's the usual. He finished the year without any loss, but ran into a brick wall by the name of, Kevin Federline. Cena played with fire and paid the price, but it wasn't clean though. At the same time, he had to deal with the Samoan Bulldozer, and even though Umaga was unbeaten, it didn't matter to Super Cena. He gave him his first clean loss and even knocked him out for the 10 count at the Royal Rumble. Heading into WrestleMania, this man in HBK beat everybody in front of them with Cena's resume looking stronger. He forced Chris Benoit to tap out in 6 minutes, but his momentum was halted with a swift switch in music, and he finally lost again. Cena bounced back at WrestleMania, but HBK was still on his tail, and in London, England, he finally lost clean. There was no slight distraction, none of that. John Cena, the man who always overcomes the odds, his shoulders were down to the mat for more than 3 seconds. This carried on to Backlash, where Cena won by the skin of his teeth as HBK had him. Following this, he lost some of his form around here because the Great Khali wanted his title, and it came to a head at Saturday night's main event where John lost to Khali clean. This didn't even affect him in the long run because he dropped Khali before facing all kinds of challengers. The only loss he suffered was to Carlito, and that was because of a distraction. Other than that, he beat him in 5 minutes, beat Khali and Umaga in a title match like it was nothing, and only dropped the title because of an injury. What makes the Cena so strong is that he's a literal superhero. Whatever problem comes his way, he'd overcome it, be it rated RKO in a handicap match or 4 former world champions. It seemed like they were a threat, but once Cena figured them out, it was a different story. The only man who he couldn't shake off was Randy Orton, and that was because of injury. So I'd say up to this point, Marine John Cena is the strongest. We can make a case for Chain Gang and the fact that he didn't lose clean twice, but this Cena had much more tougher tasks compared to Chain Gang. He had more triple threats and fatal 4-ways, guys punting his dad, stealing his title, and sure, he lost clean more than Chain Gang, but the competition level was, in my personal opinion, a bit higher. Never give up. Alright, let me explain this quickly. I've included the 3 Never Give Up shirts in here because those Cenas kind of blend in together. You know, it makes sense for me to add them with each other. And we go, why is not Rise Above Hate in here? Because it's a different version of John Cena. He wasn't winning as much. He was no longer the underdog and all that. Anyways, with that said, around November of 2009, WWE did one of their quarterly marketing strategies, and that's give John Cena yet another t-shirt. Kicking off the run, he had a tough task ahead of him. He had to face DX in a triple threat match for the title. It was a challenging match for him. DX didn't make anything easy, but in the end, he managed to FU HBK out to Triple H to win clean and walk out of Survivor Series as champion. It wasn't all good for Cena here, though, as Sheamus was the next challenger. He had a lot of momentum and with luck, managed to win the title. The very next night, Cena goes out there, destroys CM Punk within 2 minutes, and he did it with the STFU. Now, CM Punk's credentials that year were as good as anybody's. Money in the Bank, 2-time world champion, got rid of everyone's favorite wrestler Jeff Hardy, yet this Orange Titan comes in and effortlessly beats him? It took Undertaker 2 tries and 20 plus minutes to do it, and if that wasn't enough, he ended up overcoming Randy Orton later that night to win the Slammy Award. Cena continued doing what he does, and that's winning with orange colors into the Royal Rumble. He got ahead of himself here, leading to Edge's victory, but it didn't matter because he won the Elimination Chamber by beating the likes of Triple H and Sheamus. But at the end of the day, Orange John Cena was a human, although many, including myself, doubt that because he lost the title to Batista after he took a brutal spear. Throughout the build to their match at WrestleMania, Cena found insurmountable odds being stacked against him. In the most Super Cena thing you'll ever see, the champ had to face Vince McMahon in a gauntlet match featuring Vladimir Kozlov, Drew McIntyre, Jack Swagger, and Mark Henry. This man took a beating unlike anybody else. Splashes from Swagger, finishers like the world's strongest slam, yet this man was kicking out of everything and almost made a comeback. Batista, the final boss, had to intervene at 100% to shut it down, and even then almost screwed up. At WrestleMania, he forced the Animal to tap and become the new WWE champion. So all that work Batista did during the build was for nothing. Minus a few hiccups, Cena was in form and beat Batista twice, with the second match being yet another overcoming the odds scenario. Why? Because Batista beat him from pillar to post, yet he managed to recover and make him say I quit, and eventually have him quit the WWE because of all of this. Cena had finally run into a brick wall, that being the Nexus, who ended up being far too much for him here. They cost him the WWE title, attacked him on a weekly basis, and even beat him clean, although it was 6-on-1. Despite this, he sent them running a few minutes later. The Nexus was slowly being figured out, and by the end of Orange Cena's run, he was set to face him at SummerSlam. So as evident by this entire Cena run, he was too much here. Sometimes 6 or 7 men couldn't stop him. He was kicking out of finishers, recovering like nothing happened, and he was far too overpowered. Like if 2010 Cena is in a video game again, he's gotta be 97 or 98 overall. That's if they properly rate him, you know, SDR of 2011 had him at 95. Of course, the competition was a bit tougher in the past, but the difference here is Cena's resilience. We already know he takes so much punishment, but at this point, it was like a parody. It was like a meme. He has one clean loss to his name, and that was because the Nexus hit their finishers respectively on him. Like, just think about that. Now, as I said, we paired Orange John Cena with the other two, so let's get into Purple Cena's run quickly. At face value, this version of John Cena is deceiving. You know, you look at the records and you're thinking, why is this purple jelly being here? He didn't win the Royal Rumble. He failed to win the WWE title, lost to The Miz and CM Punk, but let me explain why. As you guys know, WWE is full on marketing John Cena as this colorful good guy, and ever since he started wearing orange, they began making these one-dimensional designs. Some of them are good in my opinion, but for the most part, they lack the creativity that the previous shirts had. Cena debuted his purple gear at SummerSlam in Los Angeles. His opponents, were Nexus. This man managed to withstand the NXT rookies despite his entire team getting eliminated and had to deal with Justin Gabriel and Wade Barrett. They were two of the toughest the Nexus had to offer. But this was John Cena, and overcoming the odds is what he does best. This, though, was far too much compared to anything he ever did probably. So this man gets beaten down. Barrett drops him with this DDT on concrete, and like a Nokia phone tells the concrete, that doesn't work for me, brother, and ends up pinning Gabriel before forcing Barrett to tap. He celebrates to end the show. And to think Kid Me thought he was turning heel. I was so damn sure of it. Oh, and this was everyone's reaction to the comeback. That alone would prop him near the top, but there's still more. Cena once again took a clean loss, but this wasn't an elimination tag match against the Nexus. Other than that, his losses came in the form of distractions and interferences. Well, let's look at the opposite though. The reason why I said that this Cena was deceiving was because even though he wasn't world champion, he got 6 or 7 other men pissing themselves in fear over him. They couldn't stop him. Sure, they'd leave him laying for one night, but everyone knew how this would end. He took out Wade Barrett and got the Nexus questioning whether or not he should be leading the faction. So CM Punk stepped up. He had Cena's number, but never kept the shoulders down on the mat in a clean manner. Since it was WrestleMania season, Cena looked locked and ready for his upcoming challenge with The Miz. Looking on this run in particular, as I said, they're all crammed together, you know, red, purple, and orange. I thought Cena was weaker than his previous runs, but it's not the case. He suffered one real loss, and that was in a situation where he was at a disadvantage. On the other side, he ruined Nexus in many ways. He took out Michael Tarver, beat up the others to the point where Wade Barrett had to rehire him in order for the attacks to stop. Like, that's how dangerous Purple John Cena was. But we got one more left in the Never Give Up trilogy, that being Never Give Up Red. I put these up together, as I said, because Cena's feuding with the same guys wearing the same colors. It's not like I'm adding neon or dark blue here, because those were totally different to this version of John Cena. You know, Cena's character was mostly the same from 2009 to 2011. Cena debuted the red gear during his church choir entrance, emerging from the back after DMX's Prayer 3 played. This run was not as consistent as the other colors, but Cena found a lot of success here. He recaptured the WWE Championship and made it seem like Miz was beating him in an I Quit match. And obviously nobody believed this, and it turned out to be one of those legendary translation usual Super Cena moments. It made the Miz look so bad. R-Truth was given a moment with the champ, but nothing came out of it, and you guys know about the CM Punk feud. Cena lost to him, almost clean, and Punk had his number, but never got a true victory over him. Mr. Hustle, loyalty, and respect was still very strong, and at times he was on another level, as evident by the Miz and Alberto Del Rio feuds. He stole Del Rio's car and his title, but unlike Orange and Purple, these moments are few and far between. But as I said, I thought it's wrong to exclude him from here because of the association with the other colors and feuds. You know, they blend in. His character as well, you know, Cena became painted as an antagonist by his opponents in the following years and looked less like an underdog. Never Give Up Neon. Low-key, once again, this is John Cena something. In the past few years, the Super Cena stigma Cena was facing was slowly wearing off. He was still Superman, but not on the level that he was from 2005 to 2011. He was losing more often, and you're probably wondering, were these losses clean? Hell no, it's still full-timer John Cena, but it's definitely noticeable that he lost more from distractions and whatever. The reason why this version of him is on the list is because looking at his stats, one thing caught my eye. He lost only 2 singles matches, and both were because of interference. In the first match's case, the Wyatt family interfered and cost him the title. But after boosting his interference resistance stats, this man started beating them, scoring W's, and the only time he lost was when a freaking kid interfered. Like, a kid had to interfere in the match in order to prevent John Cena from winning. And it's not like the Wyatt family didn't pay for it, because Cena took out Bray the next month in the Last Man Standing match. Up to this point, he had loads of momentum, and this led to Cena becoming a 15-time champion and Money in the Bank. As champion, he took 0 losses before switching to the ketchup color attire and took the biggest loss of his career to Brock Lesnar. As I'm working on this video, I slowly came to the conclusion that this version of John Cena is far too much here, and to think I almost didn't feature him in the video. His challenges weren't as much of a threat compared to the others, with the biggest opposition being Randy Orton and the Wyatt family, who he ended up dethrowing by the summer. So that kind of goes against this version of John Cena. He clearly can't be #1 because of that. But despite this, he was strong as hell. Overall, John Cena's looked extremely tough during his career. There was some stretches where he wouldn't lose a single match, clean or dirty. Sometimes he beat main event talent in minutes. As for which Cena is the toughest, I'm inclined to say 2005 to 2006, but he lost clean in that run. You can say 2014, however the competition wasn't as tough as other years. 2006-07, the Marine was almost untouchable. He had so many hurdles, but he lost clean twice, so that kind of goes against him. And then there's Never Give Up John Cena, which featured orange, purple, and red. And this version had the competition, the strength, and didn't lose very much. You know, looking at his run, he did not lose a lot. I don't think he even lost a single clean match during that stretch. So that's my pick. I'm picking Never Give Up Cena. He took that name, the nickname, to a whole nother level in 2009 to 2011. He was always making comebacks, taking loads amount of punishments, and in particular, Orange John Cena's far too much. But as I said, I had to get them together because it wouldn't make sense for me to split them. They were the same character, and I just felt it was right to keep them together. If you're wondering t-shirts in particular, well, I choose Orange John Cena. Alright, which John Cena do you guys think is the strongest? Please comment down below. And that's it for this video. Make sure you hit the FU on the like button, or perhaps the STFU on the subscribe button. Peace. I'm out.